go. What's going on, Pokemon trainers? Professor Marty here, and I have a deck profile for you guys. We're going to be looking at Greninja Break as we get closer to the U.S. Nationals that start on July 1st. I wanted to go ahead and do deck profile for some decks that you can expect to see and are even a good call for Nationals this year. And the first one I want to look at is, of course, Greninja Break. Now, Greninja Break was introduced with the set called XY Breakpoint. It's a very powerful card, very good card, and mainly because of the ability you see here, Giant Water Shuriken. Once you're in your turn, before you attack, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you can discard a Water Energy card from your hand and put 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. Now that is a very powerful ability, especially when you take a look at Greninja's attacks, which are also very cheap and very powerful. So before we get to that, let's go ahead and take a look at the overview of the deck. Now, the deck idea I got here was from the California State semifinalist, Hale Opener. He went undefeated at day 1 and made it all the way to the finals of California States, and I pretty much got the idea from his deck and other sources on the internet. I changed some things around just to help with certain matchups, and we're going to take a look at everything here. And if you have any questions, guys, just let me know in the comments or send me an email. So we decided to add 2 Jirachis. The reason why we added 2 Jirachis is because the deck does take a couple turns to set up, and Jirachi's first attack, Stardust, for 1 color's energy does 10 damage. Discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. If you do, prevent all effects of attack, including damage done to this Pokemon, your opponent's next turn. So this helps buy a turn so that you can get your Greninjas out and start sniping decks such as Night March and Vespiquen, because you are weak to grass. Vespiquen can one-shot your Greninja Breaks quite easily, and Night March has so much power that it could one-shot your Greninjas anyway. So playing Stardust could definitely stall a turn or buy you a turn so that you should get your Greninja Breaks out and start just picking off his bench, especially since Vespiquen and Night March have low HP Pokemon. So after Jirachi, we run 4 Froakies. This Froakie is promo XY-138. It's nothing more than a reprint of the Froakie from Breakthrough. It has the same HP, has the same attack. It's just this one is hollow, and I decided to play this one in the deck. But nevertheless, it's the same, so nothing changed on that. And now, the important component here is Frogadier. The idea and strategy of the deck is to get your Frogadiers out as soon as possible so that you could use evolve them into your Greninjas. Now, this Frogadier here has an attack called Water Duplicate. Search your deck for up to 3 Frogadier and put them onto your bench and shuffle your deck afterwards. So what you need to do as a Greninja player is evolve into a Frogadier for 1 energy, Water Duplicates, and get the rest of your Frogadiers out as soon as possible. The reason being is because this Frogadier, I want to say about 8 out of 10 times, will get knocked out, leaving you with your Frogadiers on the bench, which hopefully the next turn you could get your Greninjas out and possibly Wally into a break after that. So I have played against opponents online who have played Greninja decks, and sometimes they'll just go straight from a Frogadier and evolve into a Greninja and start attacking right away, and they skipped or they missed the fact that they have to get a Water Duplicate out, at least 1. So that's Frogadier. The next attacker is Greninja. He is also from Breakpoint. I decided to run with 3 of these Greninja from Breakpoint because the one from XY is still good for certain matchups, and I'll explain that when I get back to it. So here, Greninja from Breakpoint has its first attack for 1 colorless energy, does Shadow Stitching, 40 damage, and until the end of your opponent's next turn, each Pokemon your opponent has in play in his or her hand and in his or her discard pile has no abilities. This includes cards that come into play on that turn. So pretty much this is doing a Hex Maniac, and you'll see in some of the games I have for you guys today that this comes in handy because it saves my Greninja for getting one-shotted in certain cases. Its second attack, Moonlight Slash, It does 60 damage, base damage, and if you return a water energy attached to him to pay for this attack, or if you have an extra one, return it to your hand. If you do, this attack does 20 more damage, and this is good because you could use that water energy for a giant water shuriken next turn, and should pretty much set you up for another Greninja coming up next turn. Alright, the reason why we added a Greninja from the XY set is because, believe it or not, the regular water shuriken can come in handy sometimes to help meet those one-shot knockouts, I guess you could say, or to get that knockout. The 30 damage helps because sometimes you don't want to waste a giant water shuriken to knock out something with like 30 HP or 10 HP. So this Greninja does come in handy, and also its attack, Misslash, for 1 energy, does 50 damage, and this attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects of your opponent's active Pokemon. So for example, let's say that new deck that came out with Mew from Fates Collided and Glaceon. Glaceon has an attack that will do 70 damage and cannot get any damage from evolved Pokemon, and Greninja is an evolved Pokemon. So you would have to pretty much depend on your giant water shurikens to knock out the Glaceon. So with this Greninja, however, you don't have to completely rely on that. So it actually adds up perfectly. So for example, let's say you have an active Breakpoint Greninja who can't hurt Glaceon. You Break Evolve him, giant water shuriken for 60, retreat to this Greninja, and if he's also a Greninja Break, just do another water shuriken, that's 120, and then your Misslash does 150, does 170 to knock out the Glaceon, and you can still use its water shuriken to start sending something else on the bench for knockout. So it's good to run one of these. In all the gameplays and testing I've done, this Greninja hasn't like necessarily gotten in the way or found myself in a situation where I wish I had the other Greninja, not this Greninja. So having one of these is definitely an advantage, I believe. So that's that. Alright, now as far as trainers, we run 4 dive balls. 4 dive balls help you search out your higher ranking or your higher HP Greninjas. It helps you get out your Greninja and Greninja Break. Level balls help you search out your Jirachis, your Frokis, and Frogadiers. And we run 3 of these. 3 of these, yep. We run 1 Professor's Letter to help you get out your water energies. 1 Sacred Ash so that you can get your Greninja line back in once it starts getting knocked out. 1 Starting Megaphone. Sometimes your opponents will play items or tools such as Fighting Fury Belt, which will increase the HP of their basic Pokemon and could make it a little bit difficult to get the right numbers with the giant water shurikens and the shadow stitching. So I play 1 of these just to get rid of those tools. 3 Trainer's Mail. I run 3 Trainer's Mail. 4 Verse Seekers. I run 1 Ace Trainer, and the reason why I'm running Ace Trainer, at least 1 copy, is because you are gonna go down at least a prize early in the game, and with N being back, which is a great supporter, will still get your opponent 5 cards if you were to end. However, with Ace Trainer, if they take 1 prize and they have 5 prizes left and you have 6, you can Ace Trainer, get yourself 6 cards, and your opponent will go down to 3. So that's why I run at least 1 Ace Trainer. 1 Fisherman. This is to help you get your water energies back once you have done your giant water shuriken and water shuriken. I decided to run 1 Lysander, and the reason why is because I've had situations where they will retreat a Pokemon and that giant water shuriken, and it's just not enough to knock it out, and it's a vital Pokemon. For example, Garbodor with the Float Stone will shut off your abilities, and you can't even giant water shuriken. So with this Lysander, I could Lysander up the Garbodor, and with this Muscle Band that I run in my deck, I could do a Moonlight Slash for 80 and bring back the energy for 100. So I'll be able to one-shot the Garbodor and be able to giant water shuriken next turn. I run 2 N, just a great draw supporter. 4 Professor Sycamore. I run 2 Wallies, and the reason why I run 2 Wallies is because sometimes you will go second, and if you are able to draw into Wally, you could evolve your Froakie into Frogadier and not Giant Water Shuriken, but use water duplicates and get started right away. And also too, it'll help you get out your breaks if you need to. I run 4 Rough Seas. Rough Seas I found to be very important in this deck. You're going to be playing against a lot of decks that deliver a lot of damage and would still need 2 shots. Sometimes, in most cases, will need to 2-shot your Greninja breaks. However, Rough Seas, you could mess up the numbers and make it so that it requires 3 shots to knock out your Greninja breaks. And since the Greninjas from Breakpoint have free retreat and attack costs are so low, and you can recycle energy by using Moonlight Slash, you can simply retreat into another Greninja break and use the energy again that you bounced off the first Greninja break and start healing your Greninja break on the bench, and pretty much save your Greninja breaks because they're obviously very important. 3 muscle bands, and the reason why we're running 3 muscle bands, you'll see in the gameplay I have for you guys. Sometimes attacking with Moonlight Slash isn't always the best attack to go with, and the reason why is because a lot of decks do depend on abilities, and being able to do shadow stitching with the muscle band pretty much sets up your opponents for 3-shot potential. However, with giant water shurikens, you can reduce that to a 2-shot, and you'll see in my video where I play against a fighting deck, you'll see where this muscle band comes into play and the difference it makes, because the shadow stitching shuts off the abilities of Regirock, and the Lucarios pretty much aren't able to 1-shot or even 2-shot my Pokemon, but you'll see in the video. And then of course we run 8 water energies, and the reason why we run 8 water energies is because we need to make sure that we have enough energies to attack and giant water shuriken. So 8 is a good number. I wouldn't go more or less, really. I think 8 is the perfect number. But that's pretty much the deck profile, guys. I did a lot of play testing. I actually played, I believe I played 10 games with Greninja Break, and some of the stats that I realized from playing those 10 games was out of the 10 games, I started with Jirachi 5 times. So I got 5 Jirachi starts, and out of the 10 games, so 50% chance of starting with Jirachi. So that's one of the downfalls of the deck. Also, out of the 5 times I started with Jirachi, I lost 3 of those games. So out of the 10 games, I lost 4. So I went 6-4 for 60% winning percentage. So out of those 4 games that I lost, 3 were because I started with Jirachi. Now, out of the 10 games I played, I mulliganed 4 games. So about 40% to 50% of the time, you're going to mulligan with this deck. So that's something else you got to think about as well, and that's another good reason for having N. And also having your Frogadier prized. However, like I mentioned before, once you get your first Frogadier out and use water duplicates, there's an 80% chance this Frogadier is going to get knocked out, and that was the case out of my 10 games I played. He was knocked out most of the time, leaving me with whatever Frogadiers I was able to get on my bench. And if you have a Frogadier prized or 2 prized, then it's going to be a tough game. And yeah, so you definitely don't want that to happen either, and it's going to happen 30% of the time. So if you play at Nationals and there's, let's say, 15 rounds, there's a good chance out of the 15 rounds your Frogadier is going to be prized 6 times. So that's that. Also, some of the games I played, game number 1 out of the 10 game play test I did, the first game I played against was the Greninja Break. This Greninja Break ran Octillery, and I ended up losing to that deck. Not because of the Octillery. The Octillery really didn't help my opponent that much. In most cases, my opponent already has too many cards in his hand, so he's not able to benefit from Octillery. But the reason, what cost me the game number 1, was I went second. I started with Jirachi, and I dead drew for about 4 turns, and I happened to have 1 Frogadier prized. So by the time I was able to get I didn't get a single supporter that game, and my opponent was just able to overwhelm me once he got his Greninjas out. So I lost that one. Game number 2 was against Night March. This game we won. We went first, and we just were able to set up like we were supposed to. Game number 3 was against a Raikou Mega Manectric with Kindra. We lost that game, went second, started with Jirachi, one Frogadier was prized, and I just couldn't draw into a Frogadier to use water duplicates, so my opponent ended up just overwhelming me. Game number 4 was against Wobbuffet and Crobat. I'm sure many of y'all remember Wobbuffet and Crobat was a very popular deck back in cities. It actually won a few cities. I lost to it in the finals over in Temecula, California. So it's just a powerful deck. Your bats spread the damage or place the damage where they need to, and then Wobbuffet attacks and pretty much returns the damage, or does the damage plus 10. So in this matchup, we went first. I started with Jirachi, and I had a Sycamore True Greninjas and a Sacred Ash, which we only run one of. But once I got that one Greninja with Shadow Stitching, all I did was Shadow Stitch and use Rough Seas, and my opponent wasn't even able to get damage because his bats, when they evolved, wouldn't put damage on my Greninja, and Wobbuffet would only hit me for 10, which I would just Rough Seas off. So ended up winning that one by just straight up Shadow Stitching. Game number 5 was against another Greninja Break deck. We went second, and we had one Frogadier prized. However, we were able to set up this time. We were one step behind our opponent since he went first. He was able to evolve into Frogadier first, water duplicates, and then we were able to evolve, and then water duplicates, and then we were able to get our Greninjas out. He was able to get his Greninjas out, and pretty much we just Shadow Stitched each other the whole way. And my opponent, thinking I guess he wanted to get the pressure on me, went through his deck a lot faster than I did, so he ended up decking out. So that's something you guys might want to think about if you decide to play this game and you go up against a mirror match, is just be wise in how you play. I learned that Shadow Stitching is probably the safest bet, unless you know you can guarantee to get the knockout, and your opponent doesn't have anything in his hand to return the attack. And in this case, we both had full hands, so I knew that if I were to just risk it and knock out his Greninja Break, he probably had the energies and he probably had everything in his hand he needed to knock out my Pokemon, and pretty much, you know, just, I don't know, slippery slope, I guess. So I ended up winning that one by allowing my opponent to deck out. Game number 6 was against Mega Manectric with Garbodor, and this is the one I was telling you about. I went first, however I mulliganed twice that game, and I didn't get a supporter for my first turn. However, I was still able to set up and get my Greninjas out, and when I finally got my supporter, I was able to snipe his Garbodor before he evolved. So that helped a lot. So we ended up winning that one. Game number 7 was against Vesequin and Night March variant, and that's what I talk about with Vesequin. Vesequin just one-shots Greninja by just having a few Pokemon in the discard pile. I think my opponent was only doing 110 damage at the time. I was able to do 220 on my Greninjas, and I couldn't overcome that, and we ended up losing. We went first, we mulliganed twice. We started with a Jirachi, and we had a Frogadier prized, and I dead drew. So that happened as well. So we ended up losing that one. Game number 8 was against the Mega Scizor and Zoroark Break. We went second, and we had a mulligan. However, I started off with a Froakie and was able to Wally into a Frogadier for pretty much a perfect setup. None of my Frogadiers were prized. So from that point on, Scizor it couldn't keep up. I was able to Shadow Stitch and stop its abilities. He would hit me for like 120, but I would just retreat into another Greninja, Rough Seas, and then finally ended up going into Greninja Break and just knocking out Scizor and leaving my opponent with Bronzors on the bench. So that's a good way to stop the Metal deck, is to Shadow Stitching. Game number 9 was just a terrible game. It was against Mega Sceptile. I went first. I had a mulligan. However, it didn't matter what I did. Mega Sceptile just destroys Greninja with the ability to evolve straight up into Mega Sceptile by using the Stadium Force of Giant Plants. I couldn't keep up with it, and it has an ancient trait that doesn't let it get affected by the abilities of my Pokemon. So my Giant Water Shurikens and my Water Shurikens would be a waste because they wouldn't affect Sceptile. And even if I did Moonlight Slash, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't shut off that ancient trait. And Moonlight Slash would just do 80 damage. You would retreat into another Sceptile and just heat it all off and one-shot my Greninja Break. So I couldn't do anything about that. Mega Sceptile, it's one of those decks that just destroys this one. The final game was against a Fairy deck. It was I went first. I had a Jirachi start, but after that, on my second turn, I was able to set up and pretty much pick my opponents apart with Giant Water Shuriken and their Spritsies. So my opponent actually ended up conceding that game, and we ended up going 6-4. Now here are my final thoughts about Greninja Break. It definitely works best when you go first because you will start with Jirachi 50% of the time. So if that were the case and you start with Jirachi and you went first, it's not too bad because you just make sure you use a level ball or a dive ball and get a Froakie on your bench, put an energy on that Froakie, and then just pretty much sacrifice your Jirachi. And if they don't knock out your Jirachi, that's fine. You attach a water energy to Jirachi, retreat, evolve into Frogadier, and just take it from there without really missing a beat. So it definitely works better when you go first. If you go second, that's when things get difficult because now you're going to be a turn behind because you got to repeat. You got to do the same process, but this time you miss a turn because at least with Froakie you could paralyze or by using Bubble. So if you start with Jirachi, you're gonna skip a turn. You're gonna lose a turn. Also, the mirror match is difficult but winnable. Just gotta make sure that you play smart. It comes down to basically setting up and waiting for who decks out first. All right, Mega Sceptiles, I'll lose. In my opinion, there's no way around that unless they have like a really bad start and can't get a Sceptile out or something. Like it's something crazy has to happen or a miracle has to happen to be able to beat a Sceptile deck. But I mean, overall, Greninja Break is a resilient deck. You'll see in my video where you make almost seems miraculous comeback. You made a comeback from it. So you gotta look out for Vespiquen and Riotplume. That will definitely hurt as well. So I think those two decks are probably the worst decks or the worst matchup for this deck. But other than that, guys, I appreciate it. I'll have some gameplay for you. If you have any questions, just leave some in the comments or send me an email at Pokemon Battle City. And also subscribe if you haven't and leave us a like, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye. Welcome back, Pokemon trainers. Professor Marty here with some gameplay for you guys featuring Greninja Break, and we are going up against. Looks like we're going up against Mega Alakazam with the bats. Now, how am I going to beat this deck? All right, so I'm going first. I'm going to do this. I got the Frogadier already. I don't want to throw it away, so I'm actually just going to pass. I think the way we're going to beat this deck is by Shadow Stitching and Rough Seas. And looks like Alakazam, Wobbuffet. Ooh, Wobbuffet. Alright, Wobbuffet could be a problem. So we're definitely going to need our Rough Seas. This deck runs 4 of them, of course, so our best bet is to let our opponent play their stadium first so that we can knock it off and win pretty much the stadium war. That's our best bet. Now, alright, so we're probably going to definitely lose our Frogadier. Perfect. It looks like we're definitely going to lose our Frogadier, but now do I play Sycamore? Yes, I should play Sycamore, because even if I get another Frogadier, I could just evolve my Froakie on the bench. Alright, perfect. So, let's play one of these. Let's count, alright, so we have Rough Seas, we definitely need Rough Seas. And let's Water Duplicates. Alright, so we got all our Frogadiers. We're off to a good start. Alright, and that's that. The only thing I do regret not getting is the Shadow Stitching Greninja. We definitely need that. So, those Kinesis. And if you do 30 to the bench. Okay. There's Mega Alakazam. Does he throw his stadium down? He definitely needs a stadium, or he needs a... Alright, so he's going after our Frogadiers. He's gonna hit. He got the scoop up too. Where's he going? The Shaman? And Mega Alakazam. Yep, Mega Alakazam. I can definitely use an N right about now, and now that I see that he runs Special Energy, I could probably use my Jirachis. Oh. Well, he would've... Okay. I guess he just wanted to get a stronger draw. He needs a Dimension Valley or another Energy. And that's probably what my opponent is looking for right now. And I have played a Alakazam build before, and it does get a bit clunky. And in most matchups, you wouldn't want that many Shamans on the bench. But, you know, without like an item lock type deck. Alright, so there we go. Let's go ahead and throw in our Rough Seas. Play our Rough Seas. Right, so I'm gonna put Jirachi down now that I can. I'm going to... Alright, I'm gonna evolve this Frogadier. I'm going to evolve my Frogadier on the... Ooh, what do we got here? Okay, so grab this Greninja. And I'm actually gonna pay the retreat cost in order to get a fresher Greninja, because if I evolve him into Greninja, he'll be able to knock him out, I think. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's pay the retreat cost. I probably should have evolved him. And let's Shadow Stitching. Alright, so now if he attacks me, he's doing so there goes my opponent, Deceits. So that's pretty much how you beat these decks. Crobat and Wobbuffet, same thing. You gotta hurry up and get your Greninja out, and you need to use a Shadow Stitching, and you're gonna need your Rough Seas. So, alright guys, let's go ahead and get ready for game number 2. Alright guys, so here we go with game number 2. In that previous game, we took it, played against Mega Alakazam. Now we're playing against Cake's Mewtwo, and I didn't see what deck he was using. But like I said, Greninja Break is very good, and probably doesn't even matter what deck he's playing as long as it's not Mega Sceptile. Alright, so we got a good start here. We got the 2 Froakies. All we need is a supporter, and we're good to go. Alright, so my opponent is playing Fighting. So I'm gonna assume he's playing either Minchow or Zygarde. Alright, and he's drawing N a lot, so there's a possibility he might draw N no matter what. Let's see if I'm running. Yep, see? So I don't know. Something's up with PCTGO. I don't know what's up the system, but I bet you anything there's an N here. Yep. So I'm gonna go second. He's probably gonna N us, or Karina. Yes, give me everything. It's like 4 mulligans. Alright, no, you know what? Yeah, I'll put Jirachi down just as bait for the late game. And he gets a Hoopa start. He's probably gonna concede, realizing that we're playing Greninja. Cool. Yep, there's an N. I knew it. So, although we playtest a lot on Pokemon Online, honestly, I don't think a lot of the details or reality translates into real life. I think there's a bug or a glitch in the system that just doesn't, I mean, it just doesn't. I don't want to do this. It just doesn't translate to real life. So even if you play test a lot, I'll grab N just in case I got an N next turn. Alright, so sometimes, you know, you can play test as much as you want online. I think you don't get the same effect as you would in real life, because since this is a computer-based game, all the shuffling and stuff, it's like all codes and stuff, and oh no, is he gonna got my problem? Alright, that's fine. I should have anticipated that, guys. I knew there was a high chance of that. Alright, so bam. Okay. Yep. Throw Rough Seas down just in case he's not able to knock us out. He's gonna use another energy or strong energy. I'm gonna go ahead and get another Froakie out, and that way, okay. So we only have 2 Frogadier, so we're gonna have to be able to win this by just using these 2 Frogadiers, because that Frogadier up front is most likely to get knocked out. You got 1 Greninja. Why is Greninja showing up? Okay, yeah. We got 1 Greninja. Let me see. Do we have our Sacred Ash? Okay, so we got our Greninjas. Our Greninjas breaks. And then we got our Sacred Ash. So, alright, so I'm going to get another Froakie out just in case we draw into it off our prizes. We have a Froakie on the bench. And I don't want to draw into it. You know what I mean? So, I know for a fact we got 2 Frogadiers. So let's go ahead and get all our Froakies out. And save these 2 spots for the other Frogadier. Alright, we need an energy. Come on. Alright, so we got... Alright, so... Got a letter. With that. And then I could probably Lysander Hoopa and just put a hurt on him. So let's water duplicates and get our 2 Frogadiers out. Okay, so what we have here is we have a muscle band, so I'm going to be hitting for 100. And if I could get the, let's see, 100, if I can get the other Greninja, the one of those 30, I could hit giant water shuriken. I'll be short by 20. So it would be best if I got the other Greninja, the one of those 30 with regular water shuriken. So alright, so if I top deck, if I could top deck something right now, that'd be great. And also I can Shadow Stitching, which will shut off Regirock's ability, and he will not be able to one-shot my Greninjas. That's the other thing as well. So right now he's doing only 80. He gets another, let's say he gets a strong energy. Next turn, he's going to attach once per turn. So he gets strong energy. He's hitting me for 120 here, 130, 140. So he'll knock out my Greninja. Okay. And then let me see, what should I do? Should I evolve into the break just to be safe? Because I got no water energy. So yeah, let's do that. Let's get the other. Let's see. All right, Shadow Station for 60. He won't be able to knock me out. So Well, yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and break. And then so this guy doesn't get knocked out. Let's get the... Yeah, I don't have the water energies to even giant water shuriken or anything, so I'm just gonna go with Greninja. Alright. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shadow stitching, because if I do not and I go for the straight 100, all he has to do is he's gonna put a hurting on me. So it's just shadow stitching, set off all his abilities. He won't be able to KO me, and I'll be able to, yeah, that should work. Because the last thing I want him to do is put a strong energy and throw all these Reggie rocks down. So even if he gets another Reggie rock, it's not gonna help him because I just shut off all their abilities. So he's straight up only hitting me, and I should have not played my stadium either. That's the other thing too. So he's only gonna hit me for 120. I'm doing 100, so I'm gonna scoop up. All right, Lena, what is he gonna get? Burst Seeker, so you can get Karina back. No, both. Alright. Oh, goodness. It's not what I want. Okay, stall. Sucks. Yeah, if I wouldn't have shadow stitching, he would have knocked me out. And that's probably, he probably didn't realize that. So let's another water stitching for 60, let's put on 120, and then water stitching, yeah. Yeah, let's do that. And you know what I could have done? I should have just Moonlight Slashed and brought the energy back. That should have been what I do. But still, this is just to show you guys how resilient this deck is. I think, you know, with Greninja, he's so powerful that some mistakes may not be too critical, honestly. I mean, you could, you know, it could pretty much, any decision you make can't necessarily be the wrong one either. So to shadow style shit, so he's gonna end me. So because he's hurting, like he knows he has no other Pokemon set up, and he thinks I have the energy. So that's probably why, you know, going with shadow stitching wasn't such a bad choice, because I shut up all his abilities, and now he thinks I have another attacker, so now he's gonna end me thinking I have a water energy. So no, he went for Karina. So what is he gonna get? This game is going pretty long. I feel like shoot him a message like, hurry up, bro. He's already down in 19 minutes and haven't had 20 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay, so about a minute more. Scoop up. Is he gonna scoop up? Is he gonna scoop up? Whoop up? Or is he gonna scoop up Mario? No, he got Hoopa, okay. So we can throw out another Lucario. Got it. So alright, so setting up Greninja, he has 3 retreats. Got a Sycamore, perfect. Alright, let's get the breakout. And then Shadow Stitch is unfortunately not gonna knock him out. So let's do this. Let's get a dead ball. Let's go ahead and Sacred Ash. Let's get all our Frogadiers back. We do not need. You know what? Put a Froakie back. Don't need Froakie. Oh, we need Frogadier. So, alright, so yeah, let's do that. Okay, now I could level ball, get another Frogadier. Get another Frogadier. And then next turn I could evolve and Midnight Slash. Yes. Two prizes. There's a muscle band. Yes. Alright, cool. So boys, we're doing good. What I can do next turn, especially if I draw water energy, I could definitely take advantage of this. I got 2 Burst Seekers. I could even volley if I wanted to. Evolve and then break. So this game's going on a little bit long. We're about 14 minutes right now, but I assure you it's, you know, going as fast as I can. So right now he's going to hit us for 1 energy. He's going to hit us for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So he still has 3 prizes to take. He still has to go 3 Greninjas more. And for every 2 he takes, I'm taking an EX with me. So it's gonna come down. It'll be close. Alright, so he did 70 right there. So next turn, let's see. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and evolve. Little Fisherman here. Let's see. Oh, I got N. I could N him. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and attach to him. He will definitely survive. With Burst Seeker, I'm going to grab an N because he just has way too many cards. So let's go ahead and N him down to 3, N myself down to 4. And I already have you know what? Let's go ahead and just get another Ninja out. Alright, I'm getting the one with the Water Shuriken just to help out with the math. So right here we're doing 90 and 100. So all we're missing are water energies, that's it. So let's put some pressure on my opponent so that, let's see, so let's go ahead and give him a giant Water Shuriken. And then let's go ahead and retreat to the other one. and I'm going to Shadow Stitch him. So now the most he could do is, if he puts the most he can do is 80 with a strong energy and 100 with a muscle band, and that's it. And now my opponent's like, oh snap, because now I could just do another Shadow Stitching for 60 and knock out his Lucario. And he's still, I mean, I can still get him. Alright, so if I had a Fisherman, this game would go a little bit more quicker, but I don't. And I'm running down a card, so let's just go ahead and Sycamore. I didn't get a Water Energy. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead and Shadow Stitching. And you know what? I could Lysander him out next time and just take out his Lucario. Alright. Alright, perfect. So let's go ahead and Wally. Get the breakout. Go ahead and Giant Water Shuriken and kill this Lucario over here. That's probably going to make my opponent concede. This. And we got the Fisherman. Sweet. Sweet. So let's go ahead and throw the Rough Seas down. And that's pretty much it, guys. Just Shadow Stitching. That's it. There, with this deck, you got to. I've noticed that you have to choose wisely between your attacks. Shadow Stitching, believe it or not, isn't a bad attack. With the Muscle Band, you're doing 60, and your opponent won't be able to knock you out, but you can knock him out by simply Giant Water Shuriken. And right now he's going to end me down to 2, but it doesn't matter unless he has a way to retreat his Lucario. I'm going to knock it out by just using Shadow Stitching. Okay, he's going to scoop up. Alright. And then we got Invisible. Invisible. Alright, so let's Rough Seas here. And what is this? I don't know what it is. What is it? Alright, so whatever. Let's see what we got. Fisherman. Bam. So now I'm doing 120. So I'm doing 120, 150, and then that's it. This game. So watch this. Okay. So Giant Water Shuriken. 120. Treat. My opponent's probably can concede now. 120. I can even do a regular Water Shuriken. Why not? And then energy for turn. Bam. Yes, let's do as much damage as possible. 230 damage. That's it. So I hope you guys liked the video. Again, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already for more content, and leave us a like. And if there's any deck ideas you would like me to try out, believe me, I'm not the sharpest, smartest, I guess, Pokemon player. So I'll do my best. And I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.